The family's financial situation had always been a source of strain for her, but the latest events had pushed things beyond all reasonable limits. Her husband, Dennis, brought home a substantial salary of 300,000 units per month. Yet, when she requested funds for their child's nourishment, she was met with an indignant outburst. "Asking your parents for your child's food. You're essentially asking me to beg with a salary of 300,000? His entire income went to his mother, leaving his wife with a mere 5,000 for an entire month. Greetings, dear listeners. It's a pleasure to welcome you to my channel. I'm delighted to present a compelling new story. Please enjoy. Svetlana had begun to notice her husband's unusually large financial transfers as early as the beginning of autumn. Initially, she remained silent, assuming he was building savings for a vacation or some home improvements. She and Dennis had been married for 4 years. Their daughter, Kira, had just turned 2. They resided in a modest one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts, but it was their own. Dennis worked for an IT firm, earning approximately 300,000 per month. Svetlana was on parental leave, supplementing their income with remote editing work, which brought in about 20,000 monthly, no more. Previously, they pooled their money into a joint account. Dennis would deposit the majority of his salary and Svetlana her earnings. From this common fund, they paid for utilities, groceries, Kira's clothing, and general household expenses. Any remaining funds were set aside. This system had functioned smoothly, without any friction, but in September, something shifted. Initially, Dennis transferred only 80,000 to their joint account instead of the usual 150,000. Svetlana was surprised but reasoned that perhaps his bonus was delayed or taxes had been deducted. The following month, the amount dropped to 70,000, then 50,000, and in November, a mere 30,000. "Dan, what's going on?" she inquired one evening, finding her husband engrossed in his laptop. "We agreed on a budget. Everything's fine," he grumbled, without looking up from the screen. "Expenses have simply increased." "What expenses?" "None of your concern." Svetlana felt a pang of confusion. Dennis had never responded to her in such a manner. They had always discussed significant expenditures openly and collaboratively. Now he had become withdrawn, erecting an invisible barrier. She attempted to investigate via his phone, checking if he was being unfaithful. She scrolled through his messaging applications and correspondence. Nothing suspicious surfaced. However, in his banking application, which he had inadvertently left open, she discovered an extensive list of transfers. All were directed to a single recipient, Larisa Fyodorovna Shaw, his mother. The sums were considerable: 50,000, 70,000, 40,000, 80,000. Over 3 months, the total amounted to more than 300,000. Svetlana stared at the screen, disbelief washing over her. Larisa Fyodorovna was an accountant at some firm and earned a respectable income. She lived alone in a 2-bedroom apartment, which her ex-husband had left her after their divorce. She was financially comfortable. Why would she need such substantial transfers from her son? That evening, Svetlana decided to confront him directly. "Den, I saw your transfers to Mom. What happened?" "She needs help. She's experiencing expenses." "Expenses totaling 300,000 over 3 months? What business is it of yours? She's my mother. I'm obligated to assist her." "But we have a family. We have a child," Svetlana's voice trembled. "We're barely managing on 30,000 a month. Kira needs clothes, food, diapers, medicine." "Manage, you earn 20,000. 20,000, Dennis. That barely covers a week's worth of groceries." "Then spend less," he retorted. Svetlana felt a chilling sensation spread through her. Her husband looked at her with an indifferent gaze, as if she were bothering him with a trivial request. "Are you serious?" was all she could manage to utter. "Absolutely. My mother spent her entire life supporting me. Now it's my turn." The conversation ended inconclusively. December brought severe financial hardship. Dennis transferred only 5,000 units to their joint account for the month's expenses. 5,000 for an entire month. Svetlana stared at the bank notifications, utterly bewildered as to how they would survive. Groceries alone cost around $8,000 to $9,000 weekly, diapers about $1,500, and utilities $6,000. Her $20,000 had already been allocated to internet and phone bills, and essential new clothing for Kira, as she had outgrown her old coat. "Dennis, this is an outrage," Svetlana stated, attempting to maintain a steady tone. $5,000 a month for 3 people. "If you don't like it, go get a job," he snapped, pulling on his jacket. "I'm tired of supporting you." "Supporting? I'm on leave with your child." "That was your choice." He slammed the door and left. Svetlana sank onto the sofa, burying her head in her hands. Kira played with her toys on the rug, babbling in her own language. Svetlana watched her daughter, feeling tears welling up. She attempted to stretch the meager funds, buying the cheapest options: grains, pasta, eggs. She cut out meat and fruits. She tried to provide Kira with something decent, like cottage cheese or baby food, but by the end of the second week, the money had run out completely. Svetlana sat in the kitchen, gazing at the empty refrigerator. There was nothing for dinner. Kira had also run out of baby food. Tomorrow, she had no means to feed her child. Dennis returned late, walked past her without acknowledgement, and retrieved containers of food from a bag, clearly from a restaurant. "Where did you eat?" Svetlana asked. "At my mother's." "I see. And what are we supposed to eat?" "Look in the fridge. It's empty, Dennis, completely empty. Tomorrow, Kira will have nothing to eat." He shrugged, opening a container of pasta, and said, "Ask your parents for money." Svetlana froze. "What? You're suggesting I go to my parents for money to feed our child?" "And what's wrong with that? It's perfectly normal." Svetlana's voice cracked into a cry. "You're asking me to debase myself, to beg, when you earn $300,000. You send all your money to your mother and then tell me to beg from mine. Don't yell, you'll wake the baby. Go to hell." Svetlana snatched his pasta container and hurled it into the sink. "Get out of here." Dennis slowly stood up, his face paling. "Have you lost your mind? Go back to your precious mother. If she's more important than your family, then live with her." He silently wiped his hands, grabbed his jacket, and departed. Svetlana collapsed into a chair and sobbed uncontrollably. The next day, she called her mother, not bothering with explanations, simply requesting 15,000 units for food and diapers. Her mother, without questioning, transferred the money within half an hour. Dennis returned 3 days later, entered the apartment, changed clothes, and sat down at his computer. Svetlana remained silent. She had no desire to speak with him anymore, but a decision was forming within her. She began to save diligently. Every spare moment she took on additional work, editing articles, proofreading texts, and working late into the night after Kira had fallen asleep. Within 3 weeks, she had accumulated 40,000 units. Her mother contributed another 10,000 when Svetlana shared her plans. "Leave him," her mother urged, "immediately." "I will," Svetlana promised. She rented a small apartment for a month, finding an affordable option through acquaintances. She packed essential items for herself and Kira, documents, clothing, toys. Everything was placed in bags and hidden at a friend's place, and then she waited for the opportune moment. Dennis, as usual, prepared to go to his mother's for dinner. Svetlana saw him to the door. "Enjoy your meal," she said in a steady voice. He nodded and left. An hour later, Svetlana picked up Kira, retrieved the pre-packed bags from her friend, and departed for the rented apartment. She turned off her phone. In their shared apartment, she left a note on the table. "Live with your mother, since she means more to you than family. We will no longer endure humiliation." Dennis returned home around 10 in the evening, well-fed and content, carrying a box of pies from Larisa Fyodorovna. He entered the apartment, took off his shoes, and called out, "Sveta, where are you?" Silence. He walked into the living room. Empty. The children's toys were no longer on the rug. Kira's clothes were gone from the closet. Svetlana's belongings were also missing. A note lay on the table. Dennis snatched it up and read it. His face contorted. He rushed to his phone and dialed Svetlana's number. She declined the call. He tried again. She declined again. On the fifth attempt, she answered. "What are you doing? Where are you?" "None of your concern," Svetlana replied calmly. "How is it none of my concern? You've kidnapped my daughter." "I've taken my daughter. You forgot about her when you sent me to beg. Sveta, don't talk nonsense. Come home." "No, we are no longer a couple. You've lost your mind. You can't do this." "I can, and I have." She hung up. Dennis called 10 more times. Svetlana declined all incoming calls. 30 minutes later, a message arrived from Larisa Fyodorovna. "Sveta, Dennis has told me everything. Don't act hysterically. Come home. We'll discuss it." Svetlana smirked and blocked her mother-in-law. The next day, Dennis appeared at her parents' home. Svetlana's mother met him at the threshold, not even inviting him inside. "Where is Sveta?" Dennis demanded insistently. "None of your business. She's my wife, my daughter." "Your wife, whom you sent to us to beg for food, while you yourself were sending hundreds of thousands to your mother." Svetlana's mother regarded him with undisguised contempt. "Leave, Dennis. You've forfeited the right to call them yours. I'm filing for divorce." "File? You can explain to the judge why your child was starving while you were feeding your mother." Dennis turned and left. Svetlana knew he would search for her, so she stayed in the rented apartment for the first week, venturing out nowhere. She ordered groceries for delivery and continued her remote work. Kira played, unaware of the turmoil, but happy for her mother's constant presence. Dennis sent messages every day. Initially, he threatened and demanded her return, then attempted to elicit sympathy, claiming he missed her and wanted to see their daughter. Svetlana did not respond. After 2 weeks, he sent a message. "Sveta, let's meet. Let's talk calmly." She agreed. They met at a cafe. Dennis looked disheveled, with dark circles under his unshaven eyes. "Come back," he said without preamble. "Forgive me. I understand everything now." "What exactly have you understood, Dennis? That you were wrong? That you shouldn't have done it? Then why did you?" He hesitated. "Mom asked. She said she needed money, that she had problems." "What problems?" "I don't know. She didn't explain clearly, just asked me to transfer funds." "And you transferred $300,000 over 3 months without even asking what it was for?" "She's my mother, and Kira is your daughter." Svetlana's voice broke. "She's 2 years old, Dennis. She ate nothing but porridge for the last few weeks because there was no money for proper food. And you sat at your mommy's, feasting on her cutlets, and told me to go beg." Dennis lowered his eyes. "Forgive me. I don't care about your apologies. I want to know what has changed. Will you stop sending her money?" He remained silent. "Answer me, Dennis. She's my mother. I can't abandon her." "So you'll continue to send her money?" "I'll help, but not as much. I'll give you more." "You'll give us?" Svetlana scoffed. "Like charity? No, thank you. I don't need it." She stood up and left the cafe. Dennis rushed after her, grabbing her arm. "Wait, let's resolve this properly." Svetlana pulled her arm away. "We already resolved it. 3 months ago when you chose your mother over your family." She walked away without looking back. The following week, Dennis called repeatedly, texted, and tried to contact her through mutual acquaintances. Larisa Fyodorovna also became involved, sending angry messages, accusing Svetlana of destroying the family and depriving the child of her father. Svetlana hired a lawyer and filed for divorce and alimony. Dennis resisted, demanding visitation rights with his daughter. Svetlana agreed, but only in the presence of a third party. For their first meeting, Dennis brought toys and gifts. Kira was delighted and ran to him. He hugged her, and Svetlana saw tears welling up in his eyes. But after the meeting, when Dennis again tried to persuade her to return, Svetlana refused. "It's too late, Den. You made your choice. Now live with it." The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Dennis paid alimony, 25% of his salary, which amounted to 75,000 units per month, in addition to Svetlana's earnings. She found higher-paying assignments, earning 40,000 per month. They had more than enough. One day, 6 months after the divorce, Svetlana encountered Dennis on the street. He was walking with Larisa Fyodorovna. His mother was speaking indignantly, gesticulating wildly. Dennis walked beside her with a dispirited expression, his shoulders slumped. Svetlana walked past without greeting them. "Sveta!" Dennis called out. She turned around. Larisa Fyodorovna eyed her with a disdainful look. "How's Kira?" Dennis asked. "She's well, growing up. You can see her. On Saturday, as usual." He nodded. Larisa Fyodorovna snorted and tugged her son's sleeve. "Let's go, no need to talk to her." They left. Svetlana watched them go and suddenly felt not anger, not resentment, but pity. Dennis had chosen his mother. Now he was with her. That evening, Dennis's former colleague called her. "Sveta, hi, have you heard that Dennis moved in with his mother? He rented out your apartment and now lives with Larisa Fyodorovna. She has him completely under her thumb, never lets him go. Work and home. Even a beer with us he can't have. She calls immediately, demanding he return. They say he's completely gone downhill." Svetlana listened silently. "I feel sorry for him," the colleague added. "No," Svetlana replied. "I don't." She hung up and went to the kitchen, where Kira was engrossed in painting. Her daughter looked up and smiled. "Mom, look, I drew the sun." Svetlana hugged her, burying her face in her daughter's hair. "Beautiful," she whispered. "The most beautiful." Kira chattered about something, smearing yellow paint on the paper. Svetlana stroked her daughter's back and suddenly realized, for the first time in many months, she could breathe easily.